So around 8 years ago, I started my hero's journey. It's been quite a few years. And in those years, I started to notice, or because of the situations I was in, I started to observe or to notice what my relationship was with self worth. And self worth is a very important concept that I guess we need to be aware of. And sometimes through life, you are exposed to situations or you experience situations that make you realize what um, your self perception of what your worth is. And I think that's actually one of the most important things in life because I guess in this experience we kind of like trade energy. So I give something and then hopefully I get something in return. And some people might say, yeah, just the act of giving is a an act of receiving as well. um I don't know, I don't know if I am at that level yet. But in this trade of energy and of intention, or in this trade of acts or resources from a material perspective, we find that balance and that self sense of mm, reciprocity, or that sense of, yeah, balance and well-being in the relationships we have with different things in our life, in the relationship with ourselves, with others, with our professional life, with our health, with family, um, romantic relationships, everything, our relationship with food, with our thoughts, everything, right? So as I said, in the last few years, I started being on situations where I want to say I was invited to reflect on what my worth was or is at this moment. And self worth is very important for your emotional well being, for your psychological well being. And it can, this is some things I looked online. It's like, it refers to the subjective value or sense of worth that a person attributes to themselves. Um, there's a few or many things that influence that self-worth. Your self-perception, how you view yourself and your abilities, your qualities, um your social and family influences, what you experience in life, your family's values or your community values, your achievements and success, how you perceived those achievements and successes, or your failures and setbacks, how you compare yourself to others, and your sense of self acceptance and self compassion, understanding yourself, understanding your personal values and beliefs, and your self awareness, being aware of yourself, of your thoughts, of your emotions, basically getting to know yourself. Um, and I think that's one of the most important um, aspects of understanding anything in life. It's a good, I would say in my particular case, it's a good thing to understand yourself. And sometimes you understand yourself through, obviously, or not sometimes, I guess the majority of time, it's through the experience you have with other people, from actually experiencing life. And I think a vital quality that, or maybe a responsibility we have in this existence, is to live with curiosity. So when you're curious and you are able to observe and to observe your interactions with other people and your thoughts and how you behave in those interactions, um, you can then maybe understand yourself better, and as a consequence also understand others. And when you understand others too, you can also understand yourself. Maybe I was a little redundant here, but um through that experience, through those experiences, through feeling your emotions, through being in tune with your senses, with what you see, with what you hear, with your taste, with your touch, with your smell, all these senses that allow us to live, truly live and experience this life, you or everyone can acquire knowledge and fuel or make your data or your data, yeah, your database of life richer and contribute to that, I guess, your own memory and to, you know, society's memory. Sometimes people talk about like, well, maybe culture, or sometimes people talk about like, um, is it collective consciousness or something like that? I don't know what it is right now, but is it's like you're feeding with experience and with information, and then it's exchanging information with yourself and with other people. And talking about experience, and we're gonna get into self-worth in a little while more in depth. Talking about experience, again, we experience this life through our body, you know and then I guess, and our body has its own rhythm and its own way, and then we have like our processing of those experiences in our body, and also in our with our mind, and our perception, and our uh, yeah, our reflection on the things we experience. And that is a perfect segue to talk about today's um, archetype in astrology, which is Taurus. um, in our, I want to say in our, let's say, I think it was our third episode. If you go to episode third, we're talking about the environment and Taurus and Scorpio's axis, from the astrological perspective. From the deep health perspective, um, I associated it with our environment. And you're going to know why throughout the episode. But I just want to say hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Marco. I am a marketer, fitness coach, singer, and astrology student, amongst other things, on a journey to discover what it means to be human. I am on a quest to build a community that helps us believe in ourselves, unleash our inner power, and reclaim our voices through self-discovery. So if you enjoy discussing topics such as fitness, relationships, astrology, and human stories, please feel free to subscribe, or in fact, subscribe, share, and reach out. Together, through the power of stories and conversation, we can grow stronger as a community. So Taurus, and Taurus is our, from the astrological perspective, it represents our resources, our body, that it's an earth sign ruled by Venus. And some people say it might like, from the astrological, seeing all the planets and the astros and all these like astral bodies, it might be the earth. So it's ruled by Venus, but some people might attribute like, or might think that it would be also there would be a nice correlation with the earth, um with the planet, right? Because it represents that nature, represents your nature, your material aspect, what you can touch, what you can feel, your experience. And maybe that's your first, I want to say that, that's why I associated it with your environment, because like your body is your first environment, like that, your body, your skin, your everything that is closer to you, that's your first environment, and obviously what is around you, and the world in general, or the planet in general. So it's an earth sign ruled by Venus, and many people talk about, oh, the resources, about the Taurus energy. Sometimes when I'm referring to the Taurus energy, I'm talking about the archetype, the energy, not necessarily Taurus people. I know many astrologers say this, but I think it's a good idea to actually um, accentuate that. Emphasize is a word. Emphasize that I'm talking about the energy and what it represents the archetype. So it's like coming back to that concept of your environment is where your resources are. And they also talk about desire and enjoyment. I follow this amazing astrology. I have like three astrology teachers. So my friend Georgina, she was my first ever teacher, and then Belu, which is an incredible astrologer. And what I like about her is that it's all with the body. Like her approach to astrology, although she has all this knowledge, is actually understanding all these archetypes from your body, all this energy, and like actually experiencing. And there's also another teacher or another astrology that I follow. Her name is Maricia, and I got this concept from her. And many of my concepts or many of the things I talk about here are going to be basically just rephrasing or reframing things I learned with Georgina, Belu, or Maricia, right? Maricia and Belu are Argentinian. Georgina is Venezuelan. Shout out to them. Um, so Maricia, she was she was saying in the word enjoy in Spanish has a is a it's a different word in Spanish. So in Spanish is disfrutar, which is like like when you harvest something out of a situation. It's like getting something out of a situation. So when you in English and in Spanish, it has the same um meaning, like, or at least we have like this meaning to the word enjoy. It's like actually taking pleasure in an activity or in an experience or in something, but it's actually getting out. It's getting something out of that experience. And sometimes those experiences can be not the best experiences ever, but you can still get out of something out of that experience. Um, if it's convenient for you, you know, sometimes it's good to make things convenient, but functional, or maybe getting out of some things that might not be that pleasant, but you can get something out of it. So at least you can then reframe or have give a different meaning to that experience and maybe live life in a happier way, because we always have different experiences that are pleasant or not. And I guess that's just life. And then so she was talking about this concept of enjoying. And so some from the, I guess, social media or what we know from, I guess, astrology pop culture is like um Taurus is all about pleasure and about being comfortable and about maybe being a little stubborn and all these things. But if you go really deep into the concept, is yes, that enjoyment, getting things out of experiences, but also understanding, which I've said it before, is that that biology, your physical, your material aspect, or your body has a rhythm, has its own process, has its own timing. And the idea would be to actually feel that process, maybe from a place of not non-control. which is that Taurus energy, um, is one end of the axis. The opposite end of the axis is Scorpio, which sometimes that Scorpio energy can have some um color of control and possessiveness and trying to get things done in the way you want, which would be the other end. But also Scorpio two has a spectrum on their energy. Um, but again, is that your resources, your environment, respecting the process, your biology, your environment, and your life and life in general, respecting that process again, that life in general has, or our biology. It's not like you, I guess some things you can optimize your environment for processes, for those processes to um, be ideal, or for those processes for actually letting those processes happen. Um, and and I'm saying, like, for example, if you have a plant, maybe if you have it in a secure place, you actually water the plant, you give it what it needs, then that's the only thing technically that you can control, but it's going to have its own timing, its own process, and maybe it's going to be perfect, right? You know, the plant will grow and it'll be healthy, and then eventually it'll give leaves, or it has, like, if it has fruit or something, it'll, um bloom, or anything, right? And that's the same with yourself, right? So it's like you give yourself the space, the time, and when I'm talking about space is your environment, and then you respect your own processes, then it's like you're living that energy, that Taurus energy, that energy of Venus, which is the desire, but it is also opening the space for something to grow in it. I hope I'm explaining this fine. I'm still learning astrology, so, but this is the way I see it. And when when we talk about what you need, we also talk about the things that you value, right? So to understand what you value, you need to experience. Again, we've been talking about this. You need to self-awareness, understand yourself, and then you need to choose. Um, and when you make that choice, is where you allocate your resources, where you allocate your energy. And depending on what you value, and making the ideal environment for that, is where you can receive what you actually want and what you actually will enjoy. You can harvest those results, what you actually wanted. And sometimes we when we are in this process of getting to know our self-worth, we are we are in places where the energy, or that what we are getting, is not reciprocal to what we're giving. And sometimes it might be just a matter of, maybe that's not the right place. I want to say that's usually what the case is. Um, and I think it's also because, like, as a society, and not all the time, we understand the things that are valuable and the things that we ourselves value. I want to say, for example, time, something I got from Earthy as well, is something very valuable. And now we are understanding that it is very valuable. It's like the most valuable resource, I guess. But we didn't know it before. Or our body, it's something that is very valuable. And something that I do as well, which I'm trying to change, or that I'm actually changing, is that sometimes you take your body for granted and you don't sleep enough. You don't eat the things that your body needs. You don't know your body. You don't really know how you not you. I don't just want to sorry, I'm saying you. I just want to talk for myself or us. Like we don't know how our body functions, like or the majority of people, and we don't know what it needs, or sometimes we don't put ourselves in the right spaces for our bodies to actually thrive, or ourselves to actually thrive. So our body is valuable, but we are not valuing it, if that makes sense. Or time is a super valuable resource, but we were not valuing it. And I know a lot of people that's changing. But for example, before people would be like, not take care about your body. Now there's all these trends that of people trying to actually understand that your body is your resource. It's like your biggest resource, your asset, what you're gonna experience life with for the rest, obviously, of your life. And sometimes we see things right in the present, and we want to look into the future. And you, if you give, or if we give our bodies for granted, then when we're older, then we're gonna be like, okay, what did I do? Um, so again, coming back to that idea of being in the places where your um self-worth is not seen, or your value is not seen, maybe that's an invitation also for you to understand, okay, why am I here? Why am I choosing to be here and giving something that might not be the match for what I am receiving, or for what the other person of entity wants to receive. um and why I just like reflect on it and then change the environment, and your body will know, will let you know. And that's the, I think there isn't something more incredible about like your body, your process being tuned to you, to your body and to your emotions and what you feel, because sometimes you are in spaces or in environments or in relationships where maybe from a mind perspective, or from what you think, or your perception, or what you've learned from the past in your experience in your life and culture or whatever, maybe you don't you're trying to force your presence in those situations. Let's call it a job, call it a relationship, call it your chosen or your actual family, or anything, or in any situation in life. But your body probably will let you know that maybe that's not the space for you. And probably you've been in situations, and I don't want to be, because like I also see in podcasts is like everyone talks about how other people are this or that. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Now everyone who talks in podcasts or social media, they are suddenly the good, the quote unquote good person, or the person who is actually always um acting in a, I don't want to say maybe good way. And then the other person is a toxic person. The other person is a narcissist. The other person is the one who treat us wrong. We need to, how can we put limits or boundaries to other people? And obviously, professional people and all people, or people who talk about this, there are people who actually say legit things. Um, but sometimes, like, what I wanted to say is that I've been a person who hasn't valued other people, or I've been the person who has put myself in different, in uncomfortable situations. And um so I think it's important to have a nice balance in between, okay, what's the role I have in my in my experiences and my responsibility and agencies, and so, and what's the role other people have. um but yeah, so I was saying that it's important to reflect on what you are receiving and what you're giving. And sometimes it's not a match. And sometimes other people see your value and understand you're valuable, but they're not willing to, I don't want to say pay, but give in return that energy. And I think it's important because it creates this kind of debt. And I know it also in your mind, like you have to understand things. And if I sometimes I think like, oh, only the act of giving, as I said it at the beginning, is just receiving. Like, as if you give, you're already receiving. But I think that can be a little dangerous. This is just my particular opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but it can be a very little dangerous when you try to, like, always with your mind give an explanation or a justification, or just um subtracting importance from things by using all these concepts of, like, yeah, whatever, just the act of living or just the act of giving is receiving itself. Mm, I understand it, but sometimes you are in places or in relationships, or dynamics where what you give is not a match to what you receive. And sometimes, or if the other party is not willing to give or to match that energy, then maybe that's not the right place for you, or for, for people in general. Um, so that's where we talk. That's again where we talk about environment. If you are in the correct environment, I guess that's what I'm assuming. I think it would be, um, what would happen is that the process I was talking about is gonna have a flow. You're gonna feel comfortable. Again, what we were saying about Taurus and being comfortable, and what they were saying about enjoying, and maybe food, or what the typical things they say about Tauruses. But that's the thing, is enjoying a process with maybe not effort whatsoever. It's just like letting the process be. If you are, like, at least it'll be pleasant if you are in the right environment where there's a match in between what you give and what you receive. And there's an important component here too, that is you yourself need to understand what your self-worth is, you know and you need to value that yourself as well, and also choose where you allocate those resources, and where you hopefully get them back, where you hopefully get them in return. um and yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about self-worth. And as I said it at the beginning as well, it's a complex concept. It is um influenced by many things in life, by our experiences, our culture, our perception, the story we give to ourselves. But I think it is important to understand that through your willpower, and through your decisions, and through understanding and getting to know yourself, and understanding what your values are, you can use that willpower to choose the places where you allocate your resources. And and then again, the processes will take care of themselves, maybe, and you'll get the things that you want in life with more joy, with more pleasure, with more gratitude, which is very important. And with a pace that feels comfortable, with your own pace, with your, maybe in your own terms and timing. And then you understand that flow of life, and that's where the that energy of Taurus, and that energy of Venus, and that energy of being, um that being happy and feeling good starts to unfold. I think that's everything I have for you for today. We talked in a little summary again, and the environment, your first environment where you choose to put yourself in, giving yourself what you need in terms of what you value and the things that are good for you, and then putting yourself in places and spaces. Again, Venus at the space, creating the space for you to thrive and to be happy. This was a little bit unplanned, not unplanned. I kind of like wrote a little bit of it, but not a lot. So I hope it came out good. And I'll see you next time to talk about Gemini, which is where we see things and then we choose. Okay, I'll see you next time.